If you ever feel stuck playing the same licks or boxes on the fretboard, today's lesson is going to change that for you. We're going to be going over the easiest patterns you can use to instantly unlock the fretboard and help you sound a lot more musical. By the end of this video, you'll have new phrasing ideas that you can drop straight into your solos. We're going to be going over arpeggios, which is a topic I have yet to cover on this channel, so grab your guitar and let's get ready to learn. So first of all, what the fuck is an arpeggio? Well, an arpeggio is just a chord. I once had somebody ask me, Brayden, what do you think is more important, triads or arpeggios? And I said, I think that that's a stupid question. No, I didn't actually say that. But the truth is, arpeggios and triads are built on the same ideas. It's just playing chords. It's just doing them in a different way. So it's kind of crazy to me that I've made probably 7 videos that talk about triads or more. That's just a guess. And none that go over these arpeggios. So let's talk about arpeggios right now. What is an arpeggio? It's playing the chord but splitting up the notes. So as our triads are all of the notes together, an arpeggio is just playing the notes individually. So actually, if you took your triads and just played them individual notes, that's an arpeggio. So that's a pretty basic idea of what an arpeggio is. How can we actually learn them around the fretboard so we can use them? Well, it starts with the same way these triads start, with the 1, 3, and 5 of our scale. What does that mean? Well, if we take our major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, count up with it just like that. We can pick out the 1, 3, and the 5. That's how we build a major chord. So your most basic arpeggio is just going to be the 1, 3, and the 5 of your scale, just again and again, like 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 5, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1. There's a lot more ways to play it than just rooting it out of your scale like that. Like I said earlier with the triads, if you play the notes individually, that's an arpeggio. Or you might have heard of sweep picking before. Sweep picking is just playing arpeggios in a sweeping motion. It's not something I do a whole lot, at least on that big scale. I sweep sometimes. I'm a little short spots. I'm a little short sweeper. But I'm not one to do the big crazy sweeps a lot in my playing. By the way, if you want to work directly with me to be able to improvise and write across the whole fretboard, check that video out in the top link, and it goes over exactly what that'll look like, and if you click with it, we will make it happen. Okay, so we just went over what an arpeggio is, but how do we actually use that in context? Well, it's kind of a dangerous game, because if we overuse arpeggios, the solo becomes boring, and if we underuse arpeggios, the solo almost doesn't exist. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're playing over the chords, in a sense, that is an arpeggio. So say I have a progression that's like C, E minor, D minor, and then G. How about that? C, E minor, D minor, G. If I wanted to play over that, the first thought that would come to my mind is, how can I arpeggiate those chords? Arpeggiate. Like I said that silly. So let me get a loop going and I'll show you what I mean. So starting playing over a progression, and this is a great way to visualize what you're playing, is actually just arpeggiating the chords over the progression. And that would look just like this. So that's the basic idea, and I would recommend trying to do that in a few different spots across the fretboard. Like we said, we had C, E minor, D minor, G. So ask yourself, where else can you arpeggiate that? Like C, E minor, D minor, G. C, E minor, D minor, G. C, E minor, D minor, G. There's actually almost infinity ways to arpeggiate a chord. So take some time to find them around the neck. And if you don't know where to find them, I would just find the notes of the chord. Like, and you don't have to find all the notes immediately. If you're on a G chord, ask yourself where are the G notes around the fretboard, and work your way up with the strings. Because there's a G on every single string on the neck. So if you find all of them, you've at least found where you can start all of the G arpeggios. And if you work your way around like that, you will find a lot more than you think. So that's the basic idea of arpeggiating over the chords over and over again, but how do we actually use it in the context of soloing? Well, I like to mix the arpeggios in with some general riffing, bending, sliding, whatever it may be, and that would look like this. So that was just mixing around some other general soloing ideas with playing the arpeggios, because arpeggios are a great thing to interject into your playing. You don't want to only play arpeggios unless it's for like a exercise, a learning, a understanding. You don't want to just spam arpeggios in your improvising. But if you take your improvising and like sub out a third of it and throw in arpeggios, it'll do a lot to your playing. Now, how can we make these arpeggios even more interesting? Well, simple. Adding more notes to them. Like, you've probably heard of 7 chords and maybe 9 chords, and we can do those with our arpeggios. And that's the same idea of counting up the scale like we went over earlier, like 1, 2, let me turn my volume up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you keep going up, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, it keeps going up for forever. Most, or a lot of chords, I'll say, just stack every other note. It's like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, going up like that. There are some chords, like your sus4 chords or things like that, that will use the other notes. But as a general rule of thumb for starting to figure this out, just go every other note. So we're going to talk about adding the 7 and the 9 to the arpeggios. Now, what would that look like? Well, let me come up with a progression here that uses 7 chords and 9 chords, so we have an extra excuse to use them. But you can use these arpeggios over progressions that aren't already using the chords. So this chord progression is D major 9, G major 7, B minor 11, A dominant 7. So let's go over what those chords actually entail. Our D major 9 is the 5th fret of the A, 4th fret of the D, 6th fret of the G, and 5th fret of the B. And our intervals going up are 1, 3, 7, 9. We're literally skipping the 5 because that's an irrelevant note. No, really though, like, you can take the 5 out of most of your chords and your ear will imply that it's there. So that's a nice little tidbit of a note. And then we have our G major 7 here. And the frets here, we got 3rd fret on the low E, skipping the A string, 4th fret on the D and G, and then 3rd fret on the B. The intervals going up that one in order are 1, 7, we got our major 7, and then 3 and 5. And I went to A minor 11 here. It's a fun one. Sorry, B minor 11. The frets on this one are 7th fret on the E, D, and G strings. We're skipping over the A string. And then we have 5th fret on the B string here. So our intervals going up that one would be 1, 7, 3, flat 3 specifically. So flat 7 and flat 3. And then our 11. And then we had A dominant 7. Now the dominant 7 is similar to the major 7. The only difference is we take that 7 that would be in our major key and bring it down a half step to a flat 7, just like we would have in a minor chord, like we have in this B minor 11. So it's like a major chord with a minor 7 on it, or a flat 7, and that's what gives it that dominant sound. So we're just barring the 5th fret on this one, and then putting our ring finger on 7 on the A, and middle finger on 6 on the G. So that's the whole progression, and then arpeggiating those, I like to think about how the scale connects to each of the chords. So when you're improvising, mainly you're going to be in one scale unless there's a key change. But when you're thinking about what notes are in the arpeggio, you can change your scale to each chord. Now what do I mean by that? Well, we have our D major 9. I would think in D major, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Count up till we find the notes. And then just play 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And G major 7. This is what I was saying about changing the scale for finding the arpeggios. Now we would think about G major and go 1, 3, 5, 7. And those are the notes in our arpeggio there. And then for B minor 11, we kind of got to hike up the scale, but I would think about it as being in B minor, the B minor scale. And we have 1, 3, we're skipping the 5 in this one. And then we would go 7, and then just work your way up. 8, 9, 10, 11. So here's how I would improvise over that progression using the arpeggios and the chord tones. So that's a little example of how I use the idea of the arpeggios. And I'll try and text overlay the way I was thinking about the chords and processing the chords while I was doing that. And I'm half saying that as a reminder for myself while I'm editing. Editing brain is probably going, oh. But I will put it over there because I think it's valuable for you to see that and for you to understand what we're doing here. And if you want to know more about how you can work with me directly, check out this video right here that goes in depth on exactly what that'll look like and how awesome it is and what the things my students have to say about me are, because nobody cares what I say about myself on the internet. It's about real results, real things that happen, and I will see you tomorrow.